Good evening, everyone. It is 7 o'clock Mountain Time. How's the sound? How we doing here tonight? How's our audio? Sounds like everything's
Good evening.
Oh, it's a little loud. All right, let's turn that down just a touch so I'm not booming. Let's see, which one are we on? This one. All right, that should be a little bit better. Okay, cool. So yeah, hi everybody. Hope everybody had a good week. I did. Let's run over here to the chat and see who's here. Gary's in. Vincent RV Life is down there on the Florida Emerald Coast. Vincent, Bruce, thanks guys. Thanks for being here. Tom's in. Let's see here. Tim Myers is in, of course. Good to see you, Tim. Let's see. Tom says it's been cold up there in Whidbey, so he's staying in and working. I don't blame you. It's been cold here. Teens overnight, low 30s during the day. Looks like we got another storm coming this weekend, and I'm glad about that. We still need the moisture. Although I did see a chart today from the Weather Service showing that everything around us here is at about 200% of normal snow for this time of year. And if it's been like the last couple of years, it'll snow and be nasty till middle of January, and then it'll just dry up and quit. So anyway, who else is in? Two's in. Hi, Two Feathers. Somewhere on the road in rainy California. Oh, John Besmick is in from Michigan. Hi, John. Let's see here. Okay, okay. Tom's not going south. He says it costs $1,000 to fill his rig. Yeah, I hear you. Oh, by the way, Tom, I figured something out. Because we were having trouble, you've been having trouble getting to me with email for a while. I think I figured out that you sent an email to me with a picture of your rig, which I'm going to open right now and share with folks. Well, maybe not. It's kind of small. Oh, that'll work. Okay, so let me flip over here just a second. Get my screens reorganized. And then we'll go over here. Oh, I did that the other day. Here, let me do this. Because it's confused. So am I. There. Okay, so I know that's not a real big picture, but that'd be Tom Downey's Mountain Air. Anyway, Tom, when you sent me the photo last week, you're sending it to, kind of one of my alternate accounts. And I think that's just because, for whatever reason, we just couldn't figure out why you couldn't send to me at my main account, which is trbolin@gmail.com. So, with that, he sent it over to TRB, which I don't check very often. I happened to check it day before yesterday and saw your email in there, so... Yeah, so if anybody wants to share pictures of their rigs, I'm happy to do that. In fact, I love doing that. You can email them to me, trbolin, BOWLIN, @gmail.com, and we'll share them when they come in. Talk a little bit about diesel and diesel prices, and I saw another report about the diesel shortage, and there's really not a diesel shortage. What there is a transportation problem. And then there's high demand. So you add all that up, and yeah, I think the last time I looked, we were still at least $5.65 for diesel here in southeast Idaho. Excuse me, I need to clear my throat. Just 1 second here. But gasoline is down, unleaded is down for 85 octane, under $4 finally. So that's a good thing. But yeah, diesel's still hella expensive. Gary's saying Arizona's getting awful busy, and That doesn't surprise me. It is December. It is Christmas time. I was out to the store myself today, and yeah, it was busy. It was busy all over town. So, Scotty's in from the left coast. Hey, Scotty. George, aka Dad's in. Hi, George. Let's see. Eric Myers checking in from southern Arizona. Robert Cummington's checking in from Tennessee. Roundtown Scouter from Carlsbad. Hey. Hi, all. The Wandering RN's checking in from Alabama. Hi. So nice to have you all here. Two Feather says she's never seen so many trucks on the road. Yeah, I noticed that too. Wandering RN says she paid $4.59 a gallon today. Almost gets the pump. That's hilarious. Oh yeah, by the way, if you're not familiar with it, and thanks for reminding me, George. I was going to talk about this a couple days ago or a couple times ago. There are several group purchasing organizations, cards, if you will. TSD happens to be one of them. That you get a fairly hefty discount at some fuel stations, typically Pilots, sometimes Flying J's, stuff like that, where you'll get anywhere, this here, he was showing topped off returning from Florida at Slidell, okay, $5 pump price, and the TSD price was $3.73. So yeah, that's a pretty good discount. That you can also sign up for, and this is the one I actually happened to use, was the Flying J RV card. And the Flying J RV card usually would give you a pretty deep discount as well. But the nice thing about that one is that you had basically, depending upon your timing, up to 45 days to pay for that fuel. So it did require that you associate a checking account so they could direct withdrawal from a checking account. But that was the only kind of thing that I didn't really appreciate about it. But yeah, you would save, anywhere from 20 to 60 cents. I think it depended upon who the station was owned by. If it was a company station for Flying J, then I think you got a little deeper discount. But you could buy fuel, say, on the 10th of the month, and you wouldn't have to pay for it till the 30th of the next month, which is 45 days approximately. So that was a pretty good deal. You could ride on their money for 45 days. TSD is a fuel discounts card, and I don't remember what TSD stands for. I know there's another one out there. TSD seems to get a lot of traction. Tim posted a link to myopenroads.com there, and I think that'll get you to the TSD information. So yeah, it's just a fuel discount. They're like purchasing groups. Ouch! Wandering RN says, but I paid $1,947 in diesel truck repairs this week. Yow. What happened? It sounds like a injector pump. How do I know that? I know that. Open Roads is the TSD portal. Thank you, Tim. Yeah, these cards got really popular after I quit traveling a lot. I mean, the last 2 years I was in my RV, I think I traveled a total of 8, maybe 9,000 miles in all that whole 2 years. And the years before that, I was traveling, 10, 15,000, 20,000 miles a year. I remember traveling across the country from basically San Diego to Virginia, Arlington, Virginia, in my RV, and fuel was over $4 a gallon then. And it hurts to put $1,000 worth of fuel in your rig. I agree with that one, Tom. I did have a couple comments come in. I had one come in off of my website at trbullen.com. And it was a fellow asking me a question about a setup for his 29-foot Wanderer. He had been watching Will Prowse's channel. Now, if you don't know Will Prowse, he's kind of made a name for himself on YouTube around solar and building some weird solar crap. Here, just a couple things. My rub with a lot of those guys that build this weird crap is they know how to do it. They know how to keep it running. The average guy, you and I, probably don't. I mean, I might, but the average guy, you know, you and I, probably doesn't want to go and put a Tesla battery in his RV for, 110 power. Okay, you just, it sounds cool, but you're going to spend half your time trying to manage that system. And he had suggested, that he thought in his rig he needed a 5.3 kilowatt, 48 volt battery bank with all this other fancy hoo-ha-ha stuff. He was probably looking at $7,000 or $8,000 or $9,000 for a solar system. And that's just not the case today. In fact, I just got my gear. Renogy had a good sale going on for their gear, and so I picked up my 2,000 watt inverter charger. I picked up the combination DC to DC charge controller and solar charge controller. And then I also picked up their fancy little monitoring control panel. And so I'm looking forward to setting those up this spring once I can get back outside and start working when it's not, freezing rear cold. So let's see, wandering around def injector pump and NOx sensor. Yeah, that's an easy $2,000. We could talk. I've owned diesels. I've owned. Excuse me. Hang on. Sorry. I was outside in the cold all day. I'm kind of clogged up. I should say cold and fog. It was kind of fun, but yeah, I was outside, so I've got a lot of gunk accumulated. There's a question from Fabian Gomez. I'll get back to my web question in a minute that came in off my website. What kind of caulking can I use to apply to my window rubber seals if replacement isn't an option and they have shrunk? I'm getting water in the window. Well, Fabian, you can generally buy those seals. They're not terribly expensive. The problem with you trying to seal up a piece of rubber is that it's rubber, and not a lot of caulking will stick to rubber and provide you with a reliable seal. Okay, there are there is caulking out there that would seal against your rubber seal and be reliable and stick and hold, but you're going to spend a lot of money for that kind of caulking. That's a specialty caulking. And so, yeah, there's a number of companies out there that you can get the seals from. They're really easy to replace. There's nothing to it. Steel rubber is one of them, and I think I saw, Gary mentioned steel rubber. There's another one if you're dealing with older window seals. Somebody help me remember what that one was. Fairchild. Let's see. Yeah, there we go. Okay, it is, there's Vintage Trailer Supply. They're a good one. And then there is, Steel Rubber is a good one. What is it? They need to get their stuff together. There's another one that's just not coming to me. It will in a minute. But you can buy those replacement seals, and they're not terribly expensive. Fabian, he says, my windows are from 2006 and Creative Windows went out of business in 2007. That's not a problem, okay, because these companies that are out there, you can pick up, and they call it vintage, but I'll be honest with you, the seals that they've used in those haven't changed a whole lot in quite a while. Let's see. Let's just do. I'm just doing a real quick search here. Okay, that's interesting. When I type creative window replacement seals, I'm getting these really weird, uh, getting these really weird things. That's hilarious. Okay, so let's see here. I'll share this here. We'll just jump over here real quick. Let me pop this up and do my, I got to bring this over here so it's on that window. I forgot to fix that. I need to make myself a note. Just a minute here, folks. I also need to change out my pad. It's getting pretty full of notes. All right, sorry about that. So I'm going to pop over here, and this is a steel rubber. And you can see here they've got awning type window sills, sliding window channels, you know, and these are just examples. Let's go in here. Let's just say it's a sliding window channel. And you can pop your old seal out and go in here, and I mean, you know, they've got, you know, the U-type, there's quite a few. And mounting gaskets, if that's what's leaking, you can pick those up usually. They're not usually too different. Okay. And yes, some of it's really expensive. I've noticed that steel rubber is really proud of their stuff. I think if you look around a little bit, you're going to be able to find a little better price than $7.99 a foot for some of this stuff. You know, okay, so that's 8 foot. It costs you $36. So steel rubber's pretty proud of their stuff. So I think that if you were to shop around a little bit, you could probably find a little bit better pricing on that. I'll think of this company in a minute that I used to get some seals to redo the seals in my truck camper. And it just doesn't come to me, but it will in just a moment. Okay, so with that being said, the caulking that will seal against rubber, and are you sealing to glass or are you sealing to the body of the RV? And is the body fiberglass or metal or wood? I would think in a 2006 it's probably fiberglass. But yeah, let me know, and then I can make a recommendation on some caulking for you. John Besmick is thanking Tim for the TSD link. Yeah, Tom, that's why he loves his Cummins 8.3. Very simple. I bet you that Gary could say the same thing about his Ram with his Cummins. You know, we chatted briefly a couple weeks ago about him replacing that truck, and I'm like, keep it. So I had a 2001 Ford F350 with the 7.3. It's a long box. I had a fifth wheel I pulled with it. This is way, way, way before YouTube. And that truck was amazing. I mean, when it got totaled, now it got totaled while it was parked. Okay, check that. When it got totaled, it had less than 100,000 miles on it. It got totaled in 2011. So I'd had it roughly 10 years. And what had happened is I was down at the local convenience store having a cup of coffee with the local farmers, listening to them complain about the rain, or no rain, and all that stuff, but they were good guys. Anyway, and so, you know, there were 3 or 4 pickups parked out in front. Well, we were down away from the convenience store. They had a little parking area down there. And some guy come flying down the road, lost control of his vehicle, and took out 3 of our 4 pickups. He probably totaled $150,000 worth of pickups. But yeah, they totaled all 3 of them, and I mean, it was totaled. Mine was kind of the second one in, and he just T-boned into the first truck. The first truck hit me, and then I got pushed into the next one, so I got sandwiched like an Oreo cookie. And yeah, I mean, it bent just about every body panel on it. The hood was bent, all the body side panels, everything was bent. The right at the where the box met the cab, the frame got bent right there, and that's what got it totaled right there, was the frame. when the frame got tweaked. So, but that is a long way to say I had to put a diesel injector pump in that, and I ended up fighting with Ford about it because it should have been under warranty, and they claimed it was bad fuel. And so I went around and around with it, and finally I just said, hey, you guys have done all my service and changed all the fuel filters. Actually, what they were saying is I hadn't maintained the truck properly. And so anyway, they ended up having to buy that pump, but it was going to cost me, and this is in 2003, 2002, 2003, somewhere in there. It was going to cost $2,000 for that system back then. But yeah, 2000 to fix your pickup hurts. It makes you want to cry. I would not be concerned about running biodiesel wandering RN. Seriously. I ran biodiesel in my rig. I ran biodiesel. I stopped at Willie Nelson's truck stop there and bought B20. And I also ran B100 in it one time. And I would regularly run biodiesel. And I was never opposed to running biodiesel. So with that being said, I don't know that that would really cause any trouble for your rig, unless it's specifically noted in the owner's manual, don't run biodiesel, which I don't think they are. But I wouldn't worry about that. Okay, sorry. Let's see. Back to the comments. Fabian says, okay, we got that, we got that. 7.3 was a great motor. Yeah, it totally was. The caulking would be just to fill in the spots where the rubber has shrunk and isn't long enough, so corners mostly, but all the rubber is short, the window frame only. So I'm assuming, is it in the track seal? Is it the U-type seal? Now that might not be too bad to put the caulking underneath the seal to fill that in. If it's around the outside. And so in that particular case, I would go with a good quality Sikaflex silicone. Hang on here. I'll go grab that and look it up. The one that it's expensive, but you probably don't need a whole lot of it. I think it's Sikaflex 2, I want to say 221 is the one that I want to recommend to you. Yeah, it's Sikaflex 221. It is a polyurethane. Comes in multiple colors. I will grab a quick link here for you, just so you can okay. I can recommend that Sikaflex 221. That's a polyurethane caulking / adhesive. And the reason I'm recommending the adhesive is because you want that caulking, it needs to be able to stick to that rubber seal. And most silicones and other, especially like latex, you don't even want to consider like latex, house caulking, or any of that stuff. Sorry, I think I got a mustache hair. Because what's going to happen is that you're going to seal it, and as soon as there's any flex at all, it's going to separate. That silicone, the non-adhesive silicones will peel right off that rubber, and you'll have the water coming right underneath it, so you'll be wasting your time. The polyurethane adhesives, on the other hand, will stick to the rubber and give you a seal and give you a watertight seal. That's why they're, half again as much as, they're double the cost of, normal silicone, but it's not silicone. It is polyurethane. I want to emphasize that. And I get it, taking off the old rubber, measuring, finding the right one, and ordering. And so you're living in it full time. I wouldn't use Gorilla Glue tape. I would get that Sikaflex, and yeah, it will seal up those seals for you. And it should stay sealed up because it is polyurethane adhesive. That's the key. It has to have that adhesive part. All right. So they mix it. They make it a little differently so that it will seal against like a rubber seal or something like that. That's what I would recommend, Fabian. Okay, so I did get a question that came in off my website, and we had started to talk about that. I'm going to cycle back to it. And I'm just going to run over to my website real quick, and so I've got the actual information right in front of me. Because this is, I think, one of the things that always has bothered me. And I mean, it's done by websites or by people on YouTube that I like, right? Tom Morton comes to mind. Okay, Morton's on the Move. He's an electrical engineer, and I watched a video of his about 6 years ago, probably maybe a little more than that, where he had adapted a Tesla battery out of a Tesla car and put it in his RV. Okay, at that point in time, I believe they had I think it might have been a fifth wheel. Don't quote me on that. Yeah, it was a fifth wheel. Well, anyway, it would take an electrical engineer to run that thing. Okay, and so I just just didn't think it was practical. So this comes from Otis Lake. It always concerns me. I didn't get a response back to my email because I did email him. But here's a typical, I guess, day in an RV. He says he likes my lessons, and he bought a 2002 24-foot Phoenix Cruiser motorhome, but he wants to mood dock in it. He must be able to use his microwave from 15 to 20 minutes a day. Kind of refers back to what we were talking about last week with Tim. Run propane furnaces needed, max air fan, watch 20-inch flat screen 3 to 4 hours a day, run some interior lights, so on and so forth. He wants to install lithium and solar with an inverter, keep shore power, and his own 4K as options. I see AC seems impractical. He means running his air conditioner. And it can be done if you got a lot of batteries. Anyway, that being said, he had watched some Will Prowse, and he makes videos for more experienced people than him. Yeah, see, so he picked up on that. So he says Will recommends a 3 kilowatt all-in-one inverter, charger inverter, solar controller paired with a 5 kilowatt, 48 volt solar battery, solar rack battery. That's a way overkill for a 24-foot Phoenix Cruiser. You're going to be packing around, let's see, what's 5 kilowatts? Is that 400? Maybe it's 500 amp hour. I don't remember the exact conversion, but first off, a 48 volt system is just to start with overkill. All right. You're going to spend a lot of money to get equipment capable of 48 volt system to run 48 volts. If you follow the channel for a while, and I know a lot of you have, we've talked about the difference between 12, 24, and 48 volt systems in that they're a little bit more efficient. There's some other things that go into it. But the long and short of it is, for a 24-foot Class B motorhome, to put that much in there, you could run a house on that, right? So what I recommended was basically what I'm putting in my truck camper, which is still overkill. Okay, I freely admit it's overkill. It's overkill. Let's just call it what it is. But I'm putting in a 2,000 watt inverter charger. Okay, and keep in mind that I'm saying inverter charger very deliberately because you can get inverters without chargers. I'll just leave it at that. I wanted 1 and 2. I wanted the 2 in 1, I should say. And then, luckily, like I say, I found that it's both a solar charge controller and a DC to DC charge controller. And remember, the DC to DC charge controller is what you use to manage how much current you're drawing from your alternator on your motorized vehicle to charge your house batteries. Okay, so you want to be able to manage that. And then, of course, a solar charge controller is required to run off your solar panels, and then the computer, I guess you didn't really need to have, right? The display, the fancy display. And then, of course, I have 2 Battleborn batteries sitting right back here in the corner that I bought last year over Black Friday and got an incredible deal on those. And I'm actually in the process right now of editing my electrical install videos for the truck camper. And so those will start to roll out. I think this Sunday I'll have an electrical video out where we start, and I'll show you the equipment I'm going to use and the preliminary design for where I'm going to put the lights and that kind of stuff. Should be out this Sunday, if the creeks don't rise. That said, it's time for my cheap self-plug and commercial. If you like the video, please give me that thumbs up. Those are really super important. It gets YouTube's attention and gets more people the chance to see it. If you're not subscribed, subscribe. Ring the notification bell. Lots of content still to come. A visit over to my website is always greatly appreciated, trboland.com. I've got a couple articles I've been working on that should be posting up there pretty soon around RVing and some things like that. You can support the channel in other ways other than just watching the commercial, which is also greatly appreciated, by visiting Amazon through the link in the description of this video. I'll get a small commission. You'll pay the same price. There's also a link for Renogy and RecPro discounts, all in the description of this video. So your support is greatly appreciated, and I thank you in advance. Gary D. Fabian White and Black available on Amazon. Yeah, you can find Clear 221. It's usually available in all 3 colors. I generally probably would think he'd probably want to use the black, though, since I imagine his seals are black. Wandering Aryan says, my truck, dash, book, and other parts say low sulfur only. I'm poor from repairing this truck after paying $38,000 for this 2017 money pit. Okay, totally get it. The thing about biodiesel is it's no sulfur. All right? The sulfur that you find in diesel comes from refined oil, from petroleum. Biodiesel, which they refined from, recycled oils, deep fryer oil from restaurants and stuff like that, has no sulfur. There is no free sulfur like you would get in fuel in the biodiesel. So it shouldn't damage your rig at all. However, you're calling it a money pit, so it sounds like you're probably having a little bit of issues with your truck. What is it, by the way? Did you mention and I just forgot already? That's what happens. You see, these gray hairs, they suck all your brain cells out. Or at least your memory cells. Anyway, Wandering Aryan, I would not be concerned about using biodiesel. Any of you other diesel owners out there, Tom, Gary, Tim, any of the Class A guys ever run biodiesel out there that are on the chat tonight? Oh, Scotty sent us a photo. And so let's pop that up. Yeah, that's nice. Let's see here. I got to do some juggling here just a little minute. Just a second here. I got to pull. Yeah, it's just open, I mean, come on. All right, now I can do this. So that's Scotty's rig. It's 1 ton with his Montana fifth wheel. Beautiful ride. Let's see here. He sent 2. Let me see if I can pop this open. And there's the long shot. So is that a quad cab, Scotty? Or is that the extra cab? I'm guessing that looks like a quad cab and a 1-ton. So that's a nice truck. Yeah, that's a real nice truck. All right, let me clear this up here and get back to normal operating. There we go. Okay. Tim says French fry exhaust smells. Yes, I have that. I have had that. Noticed that in several of my rigs. I'm trying to think. Did I ever notice it in the Class A? Yeah, not that I can think of, but I've noticed it with a couple of my other diesel rigs that I ran biodiesel in. Round Town Scouter sounds like he says no. Tim hasn't been able to find it, so he's not used it. Tom Downey says no issues. You're welcome, Scotty. Jeffrey Lebowski for president. The big Lebowski. Hey, I'm sure you're so sick and tired of hearing that. I apologize. I love that movie, though. Hi, newcomer here and recent first-time motorhome owner. Hope everyone is doing well. Thanks, we are. And this is a perfect place for you. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. And if I can't figure it out, we got a bunch of guys out there that can that are really good and have been doing RVing for a long time, and one of us will be able to come up with an answer for you usually. So welcome. It's very nice to have you, Jeff. Let's see. Anybody else? Okay, so I was just thinking here, I'm going to take a little side trip here about this domestic terrorism that they feel like has gone on down in North Carolina. Yeah, a bunch of old farts, exactly, Tim. I don't think people really understand the significance or seriousness of this. And it's really unfortunate because what they did was they shot up one of those big transformers. Now, for those of you that are new to the channel, I worked for a company that engineered that stuff, okay? Transmission power lines and substations. They did other things, but I worked for that company for a number of years. And so I have enough firsthand experience with how much that stuff costs. When they say millions of dollars, they mean it. Those transformers that sit in those substations are millions of dollars. Why is the power out for a week? It takes a long time to pull in one of those temporary ones. I saw some video footage on one of the news channels, ABC, CBS, one of them, I don't remember, of them bringing in a truck-mounted transformer, a big one, and those things cost, $1 million or so. And large utilities have those because if one of those major transformers fails, they need to have something to put in its place. Because frankly, you have to have those transformers built for specific application in that substation. Okay? Jeffrey Lebowski, Duke Energy, he's in the business. Well, Jeffrey, I worked for a company called Power Engineers, and I know we did a lot of work for you guys. I haven't worked for them for years, but yeah, I worked for Power Engineers, and Duke Energy was one of our bigger customers for sure. So yeah, and that's in Duke's service area down there in North Carolina, if memory serves me correctly. But yeah, shooting up those transformers, that's going to be a huge problem. And in reality, the way the electrical grid is built, if you were to take out about 6 or 8 of those big substations like that, you can knock the grid offline for days, for weeks. Anyway, let's get back to the chat. Okay, yeah, Tom, I will do that. I will copy you and respond to you from my other account. I'll do that after the stream, okay? Like I said, I think I'm probably about due for a new pad. Well, a new page. That's got coffee dripped over it. It's time to trim my mustache. Jeff says he does have some questions. He says he does have about a new Coachman Pursuit 30 FW. It is recommended to change the locks on the outer storage doors. Yes. And Eric mentioned, yeah, locks on RVs are almost universal, so change them. That is absolutely true. Typically, you know, there'll be a... I don't even have any more... well, yeah, I do. I don't know where my keys are. But yeah, those container locks are universal. Usually, like a single manufacturer, they'll use the same lock with the same key for every RV they make for 10 years. Now, it's convenient because if your neighbor gets locked out of the basement of his RV, you got a key, you can go open his basement for him. On the other hand, it's a problem if it's sitting in storage and somebody knows that and they can come over and steal crap out of the basement of your RV and never, never break a door. So yeah, I would recommend changing those out. Scotty says he almost got hired by BPA to be a remote substation operator. That's interesting. Scotty says if your lock has a 517 on it, I have a matching key. Yeah, I think mine were 259s. Tom, what are the numbers on your keys? Because I think they're probably going to be the same as Tom. He has a Mountain Air. Both built by Newmar, and I got to think that Newmar used the same lock in a lot of their compartments for years. Because I know I went and got a new key when I went to one of the Newmar rallies, and they had it in the parts department. They just, here, this is what you need. Jeffrey says his biggest fear about this recent attack on the grid, if it was a test by a smaller group of people or was it a network of people? Gosh, that's a good question. The cops don't even know that. So, but it's something that got me to thinking about how easy it would be to get a smallish generator and get it hooked up here at the house if I needed it. I've got a fireplace. It's an old open hearth fireplace, so it's horribly inefficient. Okay, but it would keep us warm, right? It would do that. And then as far as power goes, I mean, I've got, well, right now I have all the parts. I could put together a 110 system right here. In my workspace up here in my office, I guess you could call it that, and I could have 110 power right here, and I've got 500 watts of solar panels in the garage. I was thinking today that as I was watching the news that I could jury rig up a quick system and have solar with lithium batteries and all of that stuff here at the house, and I could probably do that in a couple hours. I've got all the parts and pieces here I would need to do that. But yeah, I've been thinking about maybe going out and getting a generator. Now, I will say this, that in some parts of the country, the grid is really built tough. And here, where it's in snow country, that tends to be the case. Right? They build the grid systems so they're really highly engineered to take lots of snow and that kind of stuff. Same down in hurricane country. They build the grid up to be pretty robust. But that's just the actual physical infrastructure. That's not the smarts of the grid. And that's where we're vulnerable. Okay, we're going to get back to talking about RVing. I just wanted to chat about that, think through a little bit about the seriousness of that problem. All right, Tom says squirrel took theirs out. The whole island gone black for 6 days. Yeah, that's a long week. Yeah, okay, Keys, who done it for question? Yeah, Tim says he keeps a 5 kilowatt, run the fridges and furnace fan and a few lights if needed. Did so for 3 weeks when Ike came through back in 2010. Now, I will say that I lived off the generator in my Class A for about 55, 56 hours when I was out in Virginia. I was up on the Blue Ridge Parkway doing a contract project, and an ice storm came through, and I was, way out, in the sticks, essentially. And so there was no power for at least 2.5 days. And I started the generator and never turned it off. I just started it up and let it run, and it just chugged along for, I think it was 56 hours. I could probably tell you by going to one of my books. This happens to be my RV logbook. Can you see that? Focus. There we go. And this is a book of information all about the RV and all of my trips in it and mileage. Just a minute here. Looks like, yeah, this dated. It was February 17th, 18th, and part of the 19th. And I ran for 54 hours and 14 minutes. Didn't even know the power was out, to be honest with you. George, a.k.a. Dad, says the problem becomes fuel with everyone competing for gas and wood. Yep. Yeah, and that's the thing, if you got, like Tom said, if Whidbey's Island's black for 6 days, where do you get gas? Wood wouldn't be a problem out there. Dry wood might be a problem, but wood probably wouldn't be. But yeah, that's a good point. Roundtown Scatter says they're having trouble with their air dryer for the brake system. Having trouble getting a replacement. DA 33200, how does it work? I'm tempted to try to rebuild it myself. Well, the air dryer usually goes through a filter, a metal, expanded metal type filter. Whether you could rebuild it yourself, I don't know why not. I've never done it. And to be honest with you, I would think, I'm just thinking out loud here, but I would bet you could buy a brand new one or a remanufactured one for less time, trouble, and hassle than what you could do it yourself. You might want to look into that. Round town. But I think you could probably rebuild it yourself. Yeah, I'm sure you could find somebody on YouTube. If you went to YouTube University and did, hey, how do I rebuild this? Search for that. I'm sure you're going to find somebody that's done it. Jeffrey Lebowski says, back in the day, I'd highly recommend a generator set on stilts if you're in a flood zone. These days, I'd probably go solar lithium. Yeah. I've been toying with the idea of like the Tesla wall battery or something here, because I've got, now that my neighbor took down all the pine trees, I've got my whole backyard wide open with lots of sun. I could do a heck of a solar system here. Rose Willis. Hi, Rose. So nice to have you here. She's living in her full-time RV full-time and like to know, can I use nails to hang up small things? Sure. And what's the best size to use, and where are the best places to use nails throughout the RV? You can use nails. I mean, you want to use short ones, light gauge. You know what works actually better is command strips. Or double-side tape. Okay? This way you're not putting any holes in your RV, which I'm not opposed to. I mean, I nailed up stuff in my RV all the time. But this stuff works really good, and so do the command strips. You know, these little widgets here that have the little adjustable, or the little, you know, plastic rubber widget. You stick it in here and then you stick it up. And again, they're mar-free. You know, when you want to take it apart, you just pull this plastic part right here. I'll get it. You just pull that and it stretches it out and they pop off. There's, you know, 2 alternatives to nails, but you can use nails. Just use a small gauge. You know, like a small finish nail. The thing about nails, are you stationary? Do you sit in one place all the time, Robin, or do you move around occasionally? Tom Downey says he was contemplating going total gas, natural gas, Generset, and all, and simply pulling the plug on Seattle Hydro. Yeah. Robert Covington wants to know, am I going to get my dog a squeaky toy for Christmas? No, I'm going to get my dog a kick in the butt for Christmas. No, I'm kidding you. He has a bunch of toys. He just never plays with them. He's old. I think a big day for him is sleeping on the couch and then moving to my chair and then back to the couch and outside occasionally. Yeah, he's got toys. What he really likes are these, which is kind of funny, but he just loves these. He'll do a double handstand, back somersault into pike position for one of those. Let's see. Try command strips. Yeah, good. Jeffrey Lebowski, I can't post the link, but I just went on Amazon and found a set of round key locks, all key-like. Send me an email, Scotty, and I'll post the link. Tim Meyer says he seconds the command strips. By the way, Tim can post links because he is an administrator. I have the channel set up to block all links, URLs, URIs, whatever you want to call them. It cuts way down on the spam. And then I also have a very strict set of filters on the comments. And so if you use words like Telegram or any of these others that are really big on the scamming side of things, there's been a rash of, bigger YouTubers than me, getting the viewers of their channels getting scammed, because of this Telegraph scam and some of this other crap that these people that, don't seem to want to live to the standard that everybody else wants to, insist on trying to take advantage of people. With that being said, if you send me that link, Scotty, it looks like you just put it in there. There you go. The other thing you can do too is you can take them to any locksmith, and just about any locksmith can repin them and cut a new key for you. And that shouldn't be terribly expensive. You might want to call around and see, but it's really easy to rekey those. It's a really common key. Taking those locks apart is it's easy, and they can repin them and change the key on them, easy enough. George, a.k.a. Dad, says home he has 14 acres of trees. Yeah. Gary D has, have I talked to portable power banks, Jackery, or EcoFlow, or home built? I have not, Gary. Actually, I've been considering building one. Why? Because it sounds fun. All right. Via Scotty, here is a link to Amazon for those cylinder locks that he used on his rig when he rekeyed his, Mr. Lebowski. So hopefully that helped you out. Okay, let's see. Tim Meyer says, sounds like me and the dog have a similar lifestyle. Do you go outside to pee, Tim? Oh, I couldn't resist. All right, let's see here. Is it getting close to 8 o'clock? It is. Must be time to go. You're welcome, Rose. We're happy to help. Yeah, you can use nails. Just get you some small, small nails. The reason I asked, I'm going to follow up, is if you move around and you got stuff on nails, it'll bounce off. If you use the double stick tape, it works great. Things don't fall off the wall. I actually had some stuff that I would put a small piece of that double stick tape to keep it on a shelf. I had a couple of little wooden statues, and I double stick tape those to the shelf. That worked out fine. And when I moved out, the double stick tape, oh sorry, it just rolls off with your thumb when you roll it off. Yeah, Gary D, generator, fuel tank, storage, something to think about. Yeah, it sounds like a pain in the rear. If I was planning on being here in this location, which, I don't know if I'm going to move or not, but I'm considering it, always. But I would probably go with one of the natural gas gen sets, because I already have a gas furnace. And so natural gas is here. The thing about it is that even if the power's out, there are life safety systems that have to be maintained. Okay? One of those is the telephone network, not the cellular network. If the power goes out, the cellular network will generally have generators at all the cell sites, and it may run for a while. Okay? But it is not what they consider a life safety system network. The telephone network is. Water and natural gas is power, all right? But it can fail, as we all know. Natural gas is far less likely to fail, okay? And sewer, of course, doesn't require, water requires electricity to pump, but typically your sewer doesn't. There'll be pump stations, but again, they're going to be generator backed up and so on and so forth. Tom says they have natural gas in the ground. I could plug the plug and pull the plug on Seattle. Yeah, that'd be. Sometimes got it. Scotty says it's not sure if it's legal or not, but I added the locks to the propane doors. Technically, it's not legal. Okay. DOT regulations require that a motorized vehicle with propane tanks on it have to have the propane tanks accessible at all times with no locks to emergency personnel. That being said, you can do whatever you want, Scotty, and you're not technically breaking the law. The manufacturer cannot put locks on it because they're under DOT regulations. In your particular case, with the fifth wheel, probably not a big deal. But typically, they don't like the propane doors to be locked because they want to be able to get access to them in case there's a fire or something. Tom Downey says, how to cope with cable when you are off the grid? I don't know if I'm following you, Tom. I don't know. Are you talking like cable TV? Two Feathers says she burns wood. Tim says, is there a question having two inverters connected to your house batteries? One would be an inverter charger, the other an inverter only. No, there wouldn't, other than if the two of them were able to pull more amperage than your batteries are capable of providing. That could be a problem. But I can't think of any reason that would be a problem, Tim. I haven't watched my personally. I don't have cable TV. All of my TV comes in digitally via the internet, World Wide Waste, whatever you want to call it. When I'm in the RV and traveling, I use my cell phone as a hotspot. And here at the house, I'm blessed to have gigabit Ethernet, and I get gigabit speeds. I can upload a video, an 8 gig video, to YouTube faster than I can get things set up to watch it upload. It's amazing. That would be good. Scotty says it's good to know he'll just unlock them when in motion. Yeah, that's it. They just don't like them locked up because, the emergency responders want to be able to get to them. Eric Myers, I don't know. I think sometimes Tom uses the voice recognition and it messes up. Tom Downey, yes, cable TV does require grid power. Yes, it does, because there's going to be amplifiers all along the system, and they're not going to work if the power's off. That's when I would go to my cell phone and turn on my hotspot and turn on the, plug in my Amazon Fire Stick, and I'm going to have more entertainment than I can shake a stick at. All right, it's 8 o'clock, and I usually try to keep these to just about an hour, but we'll sit here for just a few minutes. And if there are any other questions, I'd be happy to answer. I want to welcome some of the newcomers, Jeffrey, Rose Willis. Good to see you too. Let's see, I was just looking back over here to see if we got a lot of our regulars here, which is really cool, and it's always fun to see you all. Fabian has checked in and out. We've seen Fabian in here before. I hope we got you the right answer, Fabian. Sika, yeah, you'll be happy with that, Sika. I'm just going to scan back here. Wandering RN, good to have you here as well. Oh, Tom Downey says they're doing 3 sailboat lithium systems right now. Wow. Just kind of scanning. I miss comments sometimes, and I feel bad about that. I'll go back and look at it after and go, whoops. All right, I think we're getting everything. Locks and RVs are universal. Yep, okay, let's see. Okay. Sort of looks like we've got everything. I'm going to probably wrap things up. My schedule in the upcoming weeks, good question, Tim, is that I think I will probably do, let me look at a calendar here real quick. All right, so I will be here on the 13th and the 20th with the live stream, and we'll take the 27th and the 3rd off. So there'll be 2 weeks, the week after Christmas, the week of New Year's, and then I'll be back with the live stream on Tuesday nights on the 10th of January. So that'll be the plan. I'll be here next week and the following week, Tuesday night, 7 p.m. Mountain Time. I'll be off on the 27th and the 3rd, and then be back on the 10th of January. Scotty says, bad stories about LPG tanks and batteries disappearing when parked in sketchy areas like Tacoma RV Repair Shop. Yeah, I've heard some of those stories too. And so I don't blame you for wanting to lock them up. In an RV, like a towable or a class or a fifth wheel like yours, Scotty, the tanks are portable and removable. In the case of like a Class A, they're typically mounted under the frame, so I don't worry about that. But I would worry about the batteries. Yeah, I'd hate to lose. That would be a real drag to lose $3,500 worth of batteries when you're out getting it fixed. Tom says hotspot's more expensive than Seattle Light. Yeah, I'm lucky, Tom, because I've got an unlimited data plan on this. Grandfathered unlimited data plan. That means they can't throttle me down. I could tell you a long story about how Verizon screwed me up when I called to make some changes, or I didn't call, I was online. Anyway, I'm not going to go there because it'll piss me off. Anyway, it took me a week and a half to get it sorted back out. And in the interim, I lost probably 2 years worth of contacts. My phone got set up so that it was blocking every call that yeah, I was not happy. But I can't knock it, you know. Thanks, Jeffrey. It's so nice to have you here. George says in 2011 they lost power for a week after an early snowstorm. Our off-air antenna worked just fine. Yeah, and I've got that too. I mean, you know, but yeah, hotspot is my backup. Okay, Wanda Rutledge says she has a 2011 Ford F-150 with some knotting in the bottom. Is there an oil to save from putting out the motor? Ooh, you mean knocking? You mean like thump, 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 thump? We'll wait just a minute. George says by the 10th they'll be back in LaBelle. Cool. Robert Covington, thanks for stopping by, Robert. So nice to see you. Knocking, yeah. Thanks, everyone. Scotty says, thanks, everyone. Always enjoy the company and education. Hope to see you guys soon. Yeah, cool. Well, thanks, Scotty. It's so nice to have you here. Yeah, if it's knocking, it's too late to put any oil in there to save it. Oh, Judy, hi. Good to see you. Oh, that's fine, Wanda. Don't worry about it. I always anymore. I don't even think about misspelling. I just figure it was you were using voice recognition, and it screwed up your words. So is it if it's knocking? I don't know. Once they get to that point, that's usually the death knell. Wanda, I hate to tell you this. I always hate to be the bearer of bad news. But yeah, have you had it to a mechanic? Question mark. George says that's your engine saying I want out of here. Yeah, that's your crankshaft saying if you don't go get this fixed, I'm gonna show you how a rod goes through the side of the block. Yeah, that's a drag. That's really a drag. What kind of a... Do you know what motor that is, Wanda? We'll hang here for just a minute, and then we're going to wrap things up. Give Wanda a chance. Because I know there's latency between, where I'm at watching and where you guys are watching. It can be anywhere up to 40 seconds, depending upon when you join the stream. Yeah, if it's knocking on the bottom end, that's bad. That's really bad. I don't know of any oils. That's a good point. And Tim says knocking is usually a main or rod bearing. Could be the fuel octane. That's a good point, Roundtown. Wanda, do you pay attention to what octane you're purchasing your fuel? I'm trying to remember if we've chatted about your location, but are you running 87 octane? Okay, don't worry about the motor size. Are you running 87 octane or higher? Yeah, knocking is pre-ignition. Lack of octane, a lack of octane in the fuel. What octane does is it prevents pre-detonation. So in a gasoline engine, when the fuel compresses, there's a spark that, lights it off and fires the engine. In a diesel engine, the compression of the air-fuel mixture to a very high pressure causes it to spontaneously combust and drive the engine. But when the octane level's too low, you get the knocking. So, Vincent, are you guys still out there? What's the cheapest fuel in Florida? I'm guessing that in Florida it's going to be 87 octane, Wanda, because of the altitude. You might try buying a tank of 91 octane, and it might take 2 tanks of 91 octane to see if it's something called pre-detonation. Anyway, what pre-detonation is that if there's not enough octane in it, as the fuel is compressing, it preliminarily explodes like a diesel under compression, and so it causes the engine to knock. It puts it out of time and it causes it to knock. So the fuel actually explodes before the spark fires inside of that gasoline engine. So I would try, lack of altitude in Florida for sure. See, at altitude like here where I'm at 4,400 feet here, you can run 85 octane because there's less oxygen in the air. There's a lot of science that goes into it. I could talk about it at some point, but we're already 15 minutes after the hour. So Wanda, what I would first thing do is I would put a couple of tanks of high octane gas in and see if that stops the knock. If it doesn't, then I would beg your son to start looking for a motor for it. I hate to say that, but a knocking engine is not a good thing, and it usually requires removal and replacement or an overhaul. I'm sorry. Oh, no, you can mix the two. That's fine. Yeah, that's why I say run 2 tanks. And the reason I say run 2 tanks is because the first tank, when you top it off with the 91 octane, go ahead and run it fairly low, right? So you're almost out. And then put a tank of 91 in, and then put another tank of 91 in after that tank, and see if the knocking goes away. That will tell us if it was pre-detonation. Then all you would have to do is buy a higher octane. You can actually buy octane booster in the parts stores. And if that doesn't fix it, then you're probably looking at an overhaul or a rebuilt, remanufactured engine. Tim Myers just mentioned Jasper engines. Yeah, they're relatively inexpensive. Your son being a mechanic, he might be able to pick you up a junkyard engine for fair price and swap the engine. Doing an engine swap isn't really all that much work. It's a lot of work, but it's not that much work. For anybody that's a mechanic, that should be a no-brainer job. Okay. We're going to call it good. Thanks, everybody, for watching. I sure do appreciate it. Until we get together next week. Peace. Bye.